Should we do like a
Jump on in.
vocal warm up first? Like a little
Yeah, what's your go-to? Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee.
cow mow brown cow. Is that it? Anyways, hello everybody. Welcome to today's podcast.
Where-
I am one of your hosts, Bodhi Harrison. This is your other host, Jack Mudd.
Thanks for joining us. Today, we are going to discuss the imminent Onewheel Street Style event that we're throwing in, by the time this comes out, basically now/tomorrow, in San Francisco, Friday and Saturday, May 30th and 31st, I want to say.
The competition is the 31st on Saturday.
Yep.
But we're going to be doing general one-wheel demos Friday and Saturday. I can't really remember what times they are right now off the top of my head. Can you?
Friday, it's 3 p.m. through 7, I want to say, p.m. And then Saturday, it's 10 a.m. through 3 or 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Pull up. We'll have Pine S's, XR Classics, GTS's available to ride. So if you haven't ridden one of the new boards, come and get it. If you haven't ridden that GTS, you got to just come do that, honestly.
Feel the power.
Yeah. But maybe let's start, Bodhi, with talking a little bit about this street style idea and kind of like I think understanding like why this is something that we're doing.
Well, I guess you could start with the fact that I believe for our sport to grow, we have to foster the different disciplines and aspects of the sport. You know, there's racing, which is super necessary. You know, we've put a lot of time and money and energy into the racing world and the ORL and all these individual events over the years. Super necessary. There's the group ride aspect that are happening all around the nation on a weekly, if not monthly basis in some locations. Super necessary aspect. I think group rides are what keep a lot of people riding because they're fun, engaging, great way to meet people, find new routes. Then you have the commuting aspect of one-wheeling, which is kind of the backbone, the original use case. And then you have freestyle. And for me, as a lot of you watching this know, I'm very passionate about freestyle one-wheeling. I come from a background of skateboarding, snowboarding. So immediately when I started riding, I started doing tricks on it. And there's a lot of other knuckleheads like me that like to get creative and beat ourselves up to do cool tricks on the one wheels. And we haven't really done a ton of specifically freestyle events. A lot of times freestyle is tacked on to another event. There used to be freestyle events at Race for the Rail for a number of years. Then we've kind of switched the focus to primarily racing. Now we're bringing freestyle back into Race for the Rail as the season championship this year. And so the idea with this event was to do a purely, strictly freestyle event, invite some of the top riders, open up a wild card slot that was won by the European Max Kramer. Congratulations, bro. And the idea with the rail jam style is it's just one feature or one set of features in one location where the riders are just lapping and riding and sessioning. And what's cool about that is it makes it easier to spectate. It's a smaller surface area. It makes it easier to film, and it makes it so that the riders are focusing on this small number of features and getting more creative and going bigger on these couple of features versus trying to utilize an entire park. So it's really inspired by like a snowboard rail jam event or a skateboard rail jam event. And the idea is just to get some of these top riders together to not only compete against each other, but to essentially put on a show and a showcase, an exhibition of what kind of where we're at in the sport of freestyle right now, to entertain us one-wheelers, but also to try to get eyes on what we're doing from skateboarders, mountain bikers, just people that like to watch fun and extreme stuff. And we had to tack on the demos as well, just so that people could get an experience. But the idea is just to kind of push freestyle, grow freestyle, inspire people to go bigger, provide opportunities for these riders to win money. First place is getting $1,000, second place $500. Some of these riders might have some podium compensation deals with their sponsors. So it's kind of a big push in the direction of growing and fostering freestyle. And I'm super stoked about it. I feel really fortunate that you guys believed in this idea. And, I sketched out the park on my iPad.
You guys?
I mean, my team here. I sketched out the idea on the iPad. Austin Silva did a really incredible 3D design with all the exact cuts and lengths. Sarah, our events manager, and Jack have helped a lot with like the coordination of everything. The whole team's coming together to bring this event to life, and it's been really cool to watch us all do that. And it's approaching; it is close, and there's just definitely a level of mystery.
Yeah,
like we know what the features look like. We've built them; they're in our back warehouse in pieces. We know what all these riders are capable of from what we've seen in the past, but we haven't put it in the space yet. We haven't ridden any of these features yet because there's so much material that it does not make sense to build it and tear it down and put it back together. So it's kind of funny though, because we started building everything, and Philip, big shout out to Philip, was helping out with some carpenters we hired. And he's like, yo, Bo, do you realize that like the main platform is as tall as the loading dock in the back, which is like nipple height to asphalt? And we start kind of looking at that, and then we build the floating two-stair, and the upper level of the floating two-stair is eye level. And we kind of were like, this might be a little too big. This might be a wee bit big. So we ended up actually cutting the whole thing down like a foot. Just dropped everything because we want to strike that balance of big and impressive and extreme, but also approachable for the riders, where it's like, the difference of a foot can be, oh, I'm only going to drop off of that, or I'm going to back 180 off of that. I'm going to body varial off of that. I'm going to backside body varial off of that. I'm going to foot plant off of that. I'm going to tail butter off of that. I'm going to tail butter 180 off of that. That's like, once it gets to a level of largeness, you kind of don't want to do as much technical stuff because you don't want to beat up your board. You don't want to beat up your body. And we're not in dirt, like doing bigger stuff in dirt helps with the body and the board. But when you're going to asphalt and like flat asphalt, there's definitely a sweet spot of size to still look and feel big, but not be so big that we're like fully puckered and not really doing anything. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how the rail works, because that was like a brain baby of mine. I was trying to think of how we can make a rail that is a Bolly on rail, but also a rail you could slide on from the deck. And so I had the idea of doing the rail that kind of like comes out of the deck, bends, goes down, so that way you can Bolly on, slide on from the deck, or ride onto it and either like drop tail. You could like ride on, do a revert, drop off of it, switch, maybe even ride onto the top part and tail butter down the whole thing. So I think doing it that way is going to make it pretty versatile. But I do think it will be a bit of a challenge to do the slide from the deck, because you're basically going to have to like lock onto it and then immediately go over that little hump.
Yeah.
But I did a ledge like that in Malibu not too long ago. So you just kind of have to get used to like the weight transfer for your body. And I'm excited about the floating two-stair too. I think that's a pretty cool idea of having like a high-low ledge. You can either just use to like jump onto it, do something off of it, or slide it. It is on the left side. So, and I think most of the riders are goofy. So it's going to be a front side slide for any of us, which is
tougher,
cooler than backside, but way harder.
Right.
And I think what is cool about this too, that I kept in mind when designing it, is all these parts and pieces are going to be reusable. So it's kind of like Legos. We can use some of this stuff for race for the rail. We can use some of it to set up some other fun little competitions that we can do a little more rootsy that don't cost us this much money. But
Sure.
that's a dream that I have, of doing like a little tour, cruising around, filming, and doing like little fun parking lot competitions.
Yeah, well, I mean that's one of the things that's exciting about doing a brand new event for the first time, right? Is like it takes me back to the very first race the rail that we ever threw. We're just like, you don't know what to expect. You don't know how it's gonna go. Like you're just saying, there's like a lot of mystery here. Like none of us know how it's gonna go. You are excited because it's full of potential. It's something new. Anytime you're doing something totally new, I think yeah, it's like it's got that mystery, but it's got that level of like we'll see.
Yeah.
But it's also got so much potential, right? It's like
100%.
if this is something that like in the first race of the rail, you know, we just built those ramps and went out there and rode around, and it was really shitty, you know, like super super shitty. And I'm expecting some rough edges like for this too, right? Like we're gonna learn some stuff and whatever, but that's part of the process, you know. Then I was looking around at the first race of the rail, and there was like 50 people crowding around, like watching, you know, and that was the moment I was like, oh, maybe we should like keep doing this, but like next time we could do it, you know, better in this way and in that way. And that's like how one wheel racing started, you know, and it's rad to now look forward and see all of these grassroots events across the country where people are running super legit races. You know, it's super well organized. You know, a community of people that are like galvanized around it, that see each other at all these events. So it's super cool to see the trajectory, you know, that like the racing scene has taken. And to look back and think like, you know, and at a certain point, it's like you let that go. Like you're like, hey, you guys are crushing racing. Like keep doing it. Like this is awesome. We're gonna spend a little bit of time, a little bit of energy trying to light a little spark for this other vision, and maybe it won't go anywhere, but maybe it will. Maybe in 10 years from now, we'll look back and be like, remember when we did that first street style event in San Francisco? Like, and like, you know, the feature was wrong in this way, or you know, we were running the competition like in a funny way or whatever. But like, you know, I think there's definitely the potential that this is something that could be done in cities across the US if
Totally.
it was something that works really well. And
Yeah.
and I think too, like just painting a picture for what people can do on the wheel. I mean, how many times do you like nudge a curb in public and someone's like, I never knew you could do that on those things? I mean, like all the time, people have no idea like where riding's at now. And I think the other thing about like race the rail, for example, it's really hard to get to race the rail, right? It's like you have to make it a huge effort to go to where these locations are. And so I think a showcase that's like in the middle of a city is really cool, and that we're kind of like bringing the current level of one wheel riding like to the people, which I'm also really excited about. So I love the mystery. I love not knowing like, is it going to crush? Is it going to be a complete flop? Like I think that that's like a good place to be, because that means you're trying something totally new and you're giving something a chance, you know, like to succeed or fail or whatever. But I think it's like the giving of the chance is what's like so key, you know, it's so important.
Definitely. You don't know until you try.
Yeah.
You know, this could flop or this could not. You know, if you look, one of my biggest inspirations for this is Red Bull Heavy Metal, where they do similar idea, but with snowboarding in like the middle of cities. They'll set up like a couple handrails and things.
Yeah.
And that like bounces all over the place. Like my dream is that this pops off. People love to see it, and we can do it, you know, across the country over the course of a few years or throughout a season. You know, giving people an opportunity to come without having to come East Coast to West Coast or whatever. But I also keep in mind a lot that if you look at snowboarding and skateboarding, and I think, you know, this is still a a sport in its infancy, and so we need to look for our inspiration from skateboarding, snowboarding, biking, these other sports that have grown and are very established with like multi-million-dollar industries and tons of pro athletes and films and races and all this stuff. Like that's the trajectory we're trying to take this. So we got to look at them. And if you look at skateboarding and snowboarding, they both started with racing.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day, skateboarding, they would skate down hills,
slalom and stuff.
Yeah, there was no kickflips and stuff yet. Some people were doing like handstands.
Right.
And then they started putting cones on the hills and skating through the cones. And then slalom racing happened. And then downhill racing. My dad actually used to slalom race.
Really?
It's so gnarly. They're like full speed down hills. Like,
yeah.
And then snowboarding, same thing. Snowboarding started with racing.
Right.
Like Jake Burton and Tom Sims, their whole like rivalry back in the day. But then both skateboarding and snowboarding tricks were discovered and freestyle evolved. And, you know, Rodney Mullen with skateboarding invents the kickflip and these other tricks, and that's just takes off. And then I forget who the OGs in snowboarding are, like Craig Kelly and some of those guys start doing flips and spins, and then that takes off. And now, yeah, if you like watch the Olympics, you'll see border cross snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
There's still slalom skateboard racing, but you're not really seeing that on a bigger scale. When you are watching skateboarding or snowboarding, you're watching either half pipe slope style or a rail jam with snowboarding. And with skateboarding, you're watching either edits in the streets of them doing tricks, or you're watching skate park contests, or you're watching half pipe contests, or you're watching mega ramp, because it's entertaining to see tricks. Mm-hmm. Like racing can be really entertaining too, but also I was just having this conversation with Joey Knuckles yesterday. Racing is really hard to film. And you know that as well as anybody.
I do know that.
It costs a lot of money to run a live stream.
Yeah.
Or it takes a big team, if you have the equipment yourself, to cover a long trail.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what's cool about Race to the Rail this year. It's going to be a lot easier for us to shoot and make it easier to get it captured. But when it comes to racing, it's like you have multiple athletes moving at high speed. There's a lot of unpredictability. There's a lot of course to cover. And when it comes to tricks, freestyle, like especially this event, it's one spot.
Yeah.
Or it's one park.
Totally.
And even like Seek and Shred has basically a slope style course, but you can still cover that whole thing with 2 cameras, 3 cameras.
Right.
So from a shooting perspective, it's easier to capture. And then also like racing is exciting and it's cool. It's fun. It's fast for people that love that. Like it's great, but there's not a major element of style or creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the potential I see in trying to get freestyle riding out there more to viewers who maybe don't ride or are interested, because you don't have to ride to appreciate somebody's creativity.
Totally.
And somebody's technicality on what they're doing on a board. Like with the right trick, it does not matter if you ride or not. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Totally. I mean, I think, yeah, for sure. The first 10 years of Onewheel has been about developing speed. Basically, like boards have gotten faster, riders have gotten better, technology's gotten better, and racing has emerged as this, amazing phenomenon, and like vibrant community that's like really able to sustain itself to a large degree. Obviously, we still put a lot into racing too, with the ORL and with Race to the Rail and whatever. As you said, we've invested heavily over the years to make that, to help that happen,
right.
But yeah, I think like the next frontier is style, and style is so important. Like I was talking to Onewheel enthusiast and podcaster Scott Mendenhall yesterday, and he was talking to me about the photos that his children put up in their room, and those aren't those are all like style oriented photos, because that tells like a story, right? Mm-hmm. You can't really tell from a still image like, oh, this person's going really fast per se, but you can tell when someone's like, just has
steezed out
epic style, or they were mentioning like a photo of Mercedes airing. I think you took it airing during like 113. It's like those are the things that I think really style is what captures the imagination, I think, in a way. And so I think, developing that. And let's be honest, like not everyone has great one wheel style. My one wheel style, pretty mid, if I'm being honest. I've had flashes here and there.
It's at least upper mid. You got some style.
It's upper mid. But I think it's really important to foster style and start thinking about style as like a serious element to riding too, because that is what ultimately, when you talk about like wanting to be a part of something, a lot of that is like, when you see it, does it look cool to you? Does it resonate with you? Right. And yeah, like just like any sport, not everyone has good style, and style has to be developed. Like some people surf all stink bugged and like they don't make it look cool. Like surfing isn't inherently cool. Like people with really good style have like, that's something that's been developed. Obviously, like there's lots of different individual like style when it comes to skating too. People have different like specialties and stuff. But yeah, I think thinking about style as something that is like a living, breathing thing, and something that people want to like get better at, and like that's gonna change how the kids like see one wheel and inspire them to get involved and do some of the stuff that you're doing. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like style is definitely kind of a mix of like, you're kind of born with it a little bit, but you also can learn it and develop it. And for some people, it takes a little longer than others, because it is something you kind of have to think about until you don't have to think about it. And my style pretty much fully comes from Torstein Horgmo, my hero, my absolute legend. I met him one time and he was so cool. And he inspires me. He's a big reason I wanted to learn how to make music for my videos, because that's something he does. And I thought it's so cool. And he has the sickest style. Like he's just so like slow but powerful and like loose, and puts afterbang on everything, and has huge pop, and goes for like slow, controlled, stylish tricks over like crazy stuff, even though he was the first person to ever land a triple cork in competition. And, if you look at me riding as a young kid, like I didn't really have any style. I was just trying to do stuff. And then I started watching Torstein, and I emulated his style on every board I ride, even in the river, bro.
That's a cool insight.
He's my absolute idol, bro. He's so dope. And that's where my style comes from 100%. And it's definitely something I had to like be conscious of and develop, to now it just comes naturally. It's just like how I ride. But I agree, because, typically gentlemen don't want to do something unless it feels cool. And typically ladies don't want to do something unless it feels cute or cool. This is not everybody, but in general.
This is not everybody.
In general, this is my understanding and interpretation. And so
what is that's like preface that they do on the podcast? Like, these sentiments are the expression of the individual and do not reflect that of the company or
exactly.
Anyways, continue. Sorry.
But that's something that I have been trying to do for a long time, is make one wheeling look cool, because it is cool in my mind.
Oh, when you see someone like yourself or Tyler, people that have really good style, there's no question it's cool. There's absolutely no question. People see you guys riding, zooming around, it's like, damn, but they see, me or some others, and it's like, okay, maybe, I don't know if I'll.
Then they make a skateboard graphic like that.
Exactly.
But yeah,
we gotta do more to. I mean, and look, you can also ride one wheel and look like a total kook, and if you're having fun, then like
that's what matters.
Like that's it. Yeah. Like I don't care. No, that's great. But I do think in the overarching point is like, even in these more racing oriented worlds like motocross and stuff, there's still like style is still super critical. Like how those dudes are airing those big gaps and stuff. It's a part of every sport.
100%.
And like it's a part that's we've underserved, I think, and it's not that that's been like intentional. It's just like where the boards are, and like honestly, we've just poured a lot of time and energy into the racing stuff and into just general trying to tell people about one wheels, So, but yeah, this is like a pretty big moment, just because it's a big time first of its kind. Something that Kyle too, boss man Kyle's been like advocating for a long time too. You know, he's been bugging me about doing something like an urban race or an urban trick type thing for forever. So I know he's super hyped about it. And
Dude,
yeah,
an urban race with like features
would
would
be
be unfreaking real.
totally.
But
But
it
the
would
hard
take
part,
crazy permitting.
that's the hard part.
It
I've
would be
looked
so
into it.
expensive.
I've looked into it many times, and once you talk about like closing streets and like you got to hire the police department and like it starts getting real
It'd be
crazy.
like millions of dollars.
It
We'd
starts
have to have like
getting real crazy.
we'd have to get Red Bull involved or
yeah.
something.
But that's why this thing's like awesome, because it's not a huge amount of real estate. You know, you can still do this type of showcase in like a pretty confined area. We don't have to close any streets or anything like that, which makes it viable, you know. So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm hyped. Let's see. Relevant details. Again, it's going down Friday and Saturday. The competition's on Saturday. Maybe explain really quickly like how the competition works, and give me a little rundown too on like high level on the scoring too.
And stuff. Yeah. So competition starts roughly 5:30 p.m. If anything, we'd probably start it a little earlier.
We got to get everything out
of
of
the ball. Yeah, because we got to be like
Saturday's
fully
gonna be
torn
hectic.
down and out by 10 p.m. So
Oof.
if you're gonna come early,
Yeah.
come hang out. And basically there's 8 riders, 7 invitees, 1 wild card. There will be heats of 2, so 4 heats of 2. There'll be about 5-minute heats. There's 4 judges, so there will be 2 judges per rider. We will do the first round of heats, which will narrow it down to our top 4 athletes, and then we will either do a 4-person final heat or 2 more 2-person final heats, depending on what the judges want to do. That's still a conversation to be had. But essentially, there will be somewhat of like a qualifier round, and then the final 4, and then top score of those final 4 is going to get $1,000 and
Plus some cool swag.
plus cool swag
Yeah.
from Landed Footwear and Topo Designs. Big ups to them. So, and they will also get the glory of being the first ever street style champion,
Huge.
which is pretty rad. Hoping that could be me. But the scoring is a mixture of this new system we've been developing and kind of the old school way of like a couple categories and like a point scale. So essentially there's like a point system where you'll get a point for doing a trick on to a feature, doing a trick on top of a feature, doing a trick off of a feature. You get a point if you do anything switch. You get a point if you do anything 360. You get a point if you do any kind of cross leg variations. And then on top of those points, there are 3 categories. I believe it's style, amplitude, and complexity. Like complexity / technicality. And those are 1 through 20.
Yep.
Which was something Cricket and I discussed, because the 1 through 10 doesn't give you like that much room. You know, the 1 through 20 gives you a little bit more room to like really assess somebody. And so 2 judges per rider. The points will be added to the 3 category points for a total, and then the 2 judges will add their scores, divide them by half, and that will be the rider's total score. So it's kind of a mixture of this point system that's basically tracking like how they're utilizing the park, and then on top of that, they'll be judged on a few like key categories of how they're riding.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It's, you know, we've got this Freestyle Onewheel Collective being kind of formed throughout this year. Just kind of keeping it loose and low key, and just like trying to use this year as like a learning year, kind of building and growing to get ourselves to a place where next year we're like super solid, we have everything dialed.
Freestyle Onewheel Collective.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Dude, we were cracking up about that because Onewheel Racing League is oral, and then Freestyle Onewheel Collective is fuck. But dude, it was the longest debate to figure out the right name for this, and we just wanted it to be something that is not super serious but not incredibly loose, because the idea with this is like we want to all do this together. It's open-ended.
Give it some
like,
structure. If you don't have any structure, then it's tough for anything to really grow, you
Yeah.
know? So a little structure is helpful.
Yeah, but not
But
too
not
much.
too much.
You don't have to like be specific anything to input ideas
Sure.
or be a part of what we're
A
trying to
loose
do.
member of the collective.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So, yeah, it's been cool to like develop this judging system throughout the year because basically Greg and I have this crazy idea for this super cool judging system, but it's pretty high level and like we have to figure out the marking of how we're doing it. We have a couple different ideas. We need to like test it because if it's overly complex, judges will miss stuff while they're marking.
Yeah.
But essentially, when we figure it out, it'll be able to like track a person's entire run, and then we will design a point system for every single trick, kind of like kayaking, where every trick has an established points like number, and if you do it perfect, you get the full amount. If it's like kind of a little bit sloppy, you know, so
wasn't cleanliness one of your attributes too?
Style,
Oh,
it's style, which cleanliness is kind of in there.
Okay, gotcha.
So that system we're definitely trying to develop because we want to have kind of like we were discussing there'd be like park events and peak events. And we kind of have to figure out like what classifies what. But you know, some things are a lot more like there's not that many riders, there's not that many features. It's more laid back event, like simpler judging system. But then there's ones where there's a bunch of riders, a fat park, the judges are very proficient, and there's money on the line, and that's like, okay, we need to use this more like proper judging system.
Right.
Because that's kind of one of the issues we've had is the people that are down to judge sometimes don't really know freestyle.
Sure.
In a sense of like it all kind of looks the same to them, and they don't realize that like this trick is way fucking harder than this trick.
Right.
So that's what the system we've been kind of running with this season works really well. And just kind of eliminates any level of bias because it's just like tracking how they're utilizing the park. So I think this is going to work well because our judges are very proficient. We've got Tahoe Dave, Knoxzilla from Wheel Dead, Devion, and Allie Stanley. All solid riders, all people that know what's up. All of them do a freestyle to a certain degree. So I think it'll be cool. I'm excited. I'm also nervous because I've been filming, getting my tuchus beat for a week straight. So like I'm still so sore. Going into this, like I was skating and riding yesterday and my shins and calves were just like locking up, but I still clipped up. So I'm curious to see how my body will work.
Still got 2 days.
Especially because Friday, the day before the contest, I have to be leaving on the road at 6 a.m., go build the entire course and do demos and maybe get to sleep at a reasonable time and then wake up the next day, do more demos, and then try to compete.
You know what?
It's going to be great.
No one cares. That's the thing.
It's a good thing I'm a freaking warrior, dude.
No one cares about anyone's personal trials and tribulations. That's the harsh reality, you know.
You're right.
You know,
you got to show up and throw down.
That's all that matters. Throw down for the people.
Yeah, but it'll be great. I'm excited. We're gonna film it. We're on the fence of just doing like a single camera live stream.
Yeah.
But we're definitely gonna do a recap video. It won't be like heat to heat to heat. It'll be just the juicy nuggets that you want to see.
Right. Aiming for next like Wednesday.
Yeah, we want to be as fast on the turnaround as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow along, of course, on the socials too. I'm sure we'll be blasting all that stuff out.
We'll be storying and whatnot. And I'm sure if we don't do a YouTube live stream, we'd probably go live on like Instagram or something.
Yeah.
Give the phone to somebody.
Totally.
But it'll be cool.
And maybe
you guys should come.
In the comments, let us know what you think.
Yeah, say live stream in the comments if we should live stream.
Totally. If we get like 50, maybe we will.
And we maybe will.
Yeah. But yeah, come join this journey with us. You know, let's see what this looks like. Let's see what this is. Hopefully, I think it's gonna be really cool. And even if it's not, we'll build on it and make it really cool in the future. But I think this is gonna be sick. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, pop them down below.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Of course. Thanks for being here in our living room. today.
Yep. We got a lot more fun stuff in store.
Yeah, we've been working. We've been cranking.
We got a lot of pizzas in the oven right now.
We do. Anything else? Closing thoughts?
I love you all, and wish me luck.
Wish Bodhi luck. He has to wake up at 6 a.m. That's the hardest thing for him to do.
I'm so screwed. And Mom, if you're watching this, I love you.
And cut.
Wow, our timing was really good on that. All right. Oh, dude, I didn't record the audio. I'm just kidding.